normal kind of keynote address where slide presentation takes the main role. Side by side, I will try to show you some little bit of experiments we are doing with data librarianship. So as I said that the origin of library carpentry actually started from data carpentry. So data carpentry, you can see here the data carpentry started in the year January 2018, and right from that to a point of time, different kind of application, different kind of projects are going on, and the very specific part of the data carpentry is actually which actually involved with different kind of library tasks are called library carpentry. So that is the source and that is the product what we are getting today. And library carpentry, the application sites of the data carpentry in library information tasks focuses on building software, different kind of data skills within library and information professional. The reason is, or the aim is to empower LIS professionals to use software and data in their own work and to become experts in reproducible data and software practice. So that is the definition given by an agency, which immediately came up with the data carpentry revolution, and that institute is called librarycarpentry.org. And librarycarpentry.org, you can see the site, you can have their different kind of materials they have produced, you can have it free of cost under Creative Commons licenses. So what this said actually that these are the major points of library carpentry, which is a subset of data carpentry, applying concepts of data science in library in performing different kind of library tasks, identify and use best practices in data structure, learn how to programmatically transform and map data from one form to another form. Then data visualization is becoming very important part of library carpentry, like many other aspects. And I have seen that one particular topic, subtopic of this workshop is data visualization. So that is coming in a big way. And the different kind of automate, repetitive, error-prone tasks, what we normally handle in library domain, that can be performed through different kind of or a new subset of software, what I can say, and those softwares are called data wrangling software. So that data wrangling software, group of software, data visualization software, all can be utilized for different kind of library job. For example, data visualization can be very useful to prepare library dashboard kind of thing. The moment you enter in your OPAC or your digital library system, it can give you different kind of real-time statistics. So that kind of things are also going on. But in a nutshell, what I can say that again we are at the crossroad when information science concept introduced way back in 1980s. We forced to learn different new things. Now again we are at the crossroad. Now we are getting different kind of data science techniques and approach, and we need to learn array of new tools and techniques to survive. Now, what are those tools and techniques? So I divided this into three groups: core lessons, what we need to know, extended lessons, and conceptual lessons. So in the core group, most of these tools are based on Python or Java, and biased towards the Linux operating system. So a little bit of Unix shell scripting is giving you some kind of benefit. So that is one good point to start. Then recently, the Open Refine software, which actually originated from Google Refine, is coming in a big way as a data wrangling tool, open source, and anyone can install and anyone can utilize it. Different kind of GitHub technologies, how to clone it, and how you can get different kind of Git repository software in your local machines. At the extended part, SQL and SparkQL always gives us some kind of benefit to get the data first. I'll be showing you how from the scratch we can develop something. Different kind of tidy data management, web scraping, little bit of knowledge of Python we need at the in the extended lesson part. And in the conceptual lesson part, because when you are dealing with a set of data, your final objective is to bring the benefit into library services. Now, the moment you come to the library service interface, you need to handle different kind of, globally agreed upon data standards, like different kind of Mark 21 family, qualified Dublin code, different kind of domain-specific metadata like IEEE LOM, for learning object, MIDAS, LIDO for cultural objects, and so on. So a little bit of knowledge of these data standards and the tools that can handle this particular data standards like MarkEdit, Wikidata, a different kind of fair data principle based software. R is also coming in a big way, mainly for the statistician, but different R libraries also we can utilize, in generating new kind of library services. And these are all based on the FAIR principles. I'm not going into details of the FAIR principles because I have seen that many of the lectures are actually covering these principles: findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable data sets. So library carpentry is also based on the common FAIR principles. And here you can see the importance of library carpentry in today's world. What I have shown here is the last 50 workshops conducted by this library carpentry.org, and here Library of Congress also actually in the queue. So they have given schedule for different past conference workshops and forthcoming workshops. And in both the groups, you can see the biggest libraries of the world, like Library of Congress, Bibliothèque Nationale. All national libraries are basically, interested to train their professionals in the forthcoming revolution of data science in library. Now, librarycarpentry.org also have a GitHub, account, and you can download from their GitHub account different kind of refinement on the top of OpenRefine, on the top of GeoRefine, linked open data refine, and so on. So you can have a look of this particular library carpentry space under GitHub. And these are the different kind of what I can say training materials, different kind of manuals already developed by library carpentry, and those interestingly those are all available as open knowledge object, and you can download. So in the left hand side I have given what are the different kind of project they have taken under the GitHub account, and in the right hand side of the slide I have given you all kind of training materials they have produced so far, which are available to each library professionals of the world free of cost. So these are worth looking, and you can have a look of this library carpentry activities, ongoing activities throughout the world. So fair data I am avoiding because many of you people will be covering. But let me come to the source part, that you need to start with different kind of data related activities to generate data intensive library services. So you need to know different kind of data sources. And here what I have given you, ODBL licensed based data sets. That means open database licensing system. It's a licensing agreement like Creative Commons. So many of these systems or many of these services are coming up which provides you data on the top of REST API. You can make a query, structured query, either through SparkQL or through different kind of API-based formatted query. You can have your data, basic data to start with, and then you can fetch different kind of additional data on the top of that. So to start with, we need to know Crossref. Crossref is basically a data set of 75 plus publishers together. So when you are, for suppose for your some kind of research study, you have downloaded some document either from Scopus or from Web of Science. So these are the two bibliographic databases we are utilizing. First, the moment you are selecting Scopus, you are selecting only Scopus index journals. So rest of the bibliographic universe you are not taking into consideration. So that kind of problem and that's a very pertinent research question when you are actually starting work with Scopus or Web of Science. Immediately your reviewer asks, your guide asks that what will happen to the other bibliographic object outside the Scopus database or outside the Web of Science database. So that kind of problem we can avoid in Crossref. Crossref is a a big agglomeration of publisher data, publication data available free of cost under ODBL. You can make a query, you can have your data. Similarly, unpayworld.org providing valuable data sets related to open access. Lens is coming in a big way with 225 millions of resources available through API. Then altmetrics data you can fetch automatically from altmetrics.com. Gender analysis we can done through genderize, name sort, and geospatial data sets we can like bounding box data or geocoordinate, geofencing data we can have from Nomani team, which is actually based on the OpenStreetMap data. So on the other hand, we are some of the other bibliographic databases are also coming in a big way, like dimensions.ai, Semantic Scholar. You may be knowing, most of you are using Semantic Scholar, but we simply do not know. They provide a very beautiful API through which we can make a query on the top of DOI and we can fetch additional metadata. Wisdom.ai, Open Citation. Through Open Citation, we can have, again free of cost, number of citations, number of references related to a particular DOI-based knowledge object. So these are the sources to start with. Intentionally, I have included here only the services which are providing REST API based services on the top of ODBL licensing system. And at the core of the core, I have given Zenodo. Zenodo, you know, it's coming in a big way. It's a global data set repository. It can hold textual data as well as a data set, because nowadays when you are writing a paper, your reviewer and your publisher also asking that where is the data set. So you can upload your data set into Zenodo.org. You will be getting a free DOI based data set. So each and every data sets will be automatically given a Zenodo based DOI that you can utilize in your paper to prove your point or as a proof of concept. And Zenodo.org, .org, and one of the pride moment from library professionals is that the term Zenodo came from Zenodotus. Zenodotus was the first librarian of Alexandria Library who utilized metadata. In the history of librarianship, Zenodotus was the first librarian who utilized metadata to retrieve knowledge object. That's why they have given the name Zenodo in the memory of the first metadata librarian of the world. And next one is the Kaggle. Kaggle is different kind of textual search engine. Kaggle is also a textual search engine, but it holds only data, so that different kind of data set you can start, you can download and you can start with. So most of the cases we don't have to reinvent the wheel when we are doing some kind of project. Suppose you are trying to do a project on COVID-19 data set. So you can have many of these such kind of data sets related to COVID-19, because I have searched by nCoV-19, and this can give you a list of data sets which you can utilize as a point of starting. So these are the things coming up in place of the knowledge object. In place of knowledge object retrieval, we are now basically moving towards the data retrieval engine and different kind of data sets. And this also I want to avoid, because open database licensing, you all know that it's like Creative Commons. The only difference is that if a data set is actually powered by ODBL, you can download data sets, and data can be of 5 types. We are called 5-star data, linked open data, so that you can start working with. So these are the theoretical concept. Many of other resource person will also cover, I do hope. I'm directly now coming to my point. The point is that here what I am going to show you, that how we can utilize this REST API interface to download different kind of metadata free of cost. On the top of that data sets, how can we generate different kind of library specific data intensive information services. So here API, you know, it's basically a gateway through which a client can interact with the server. And most of the API call are based in a fashion or style called REST. That's why we together call them REST.api. Most of the cases, REST API call will give you data in JSON format, JavaScript object notation. It's a very lightweight data interchange format. Through that JSON formatted data, we can again, synthesize different kind of data element and we can utilize for our purposes. So these are the some of the basic things. Now let me explain this one before you. For example, I have a set of books, and the unique identifier of a given book is the ISBN number. Now from that set of books, I need to select a subset for my library. So how can you rapidly do it? One way is that you can directly take a survey, you can directly take requisition from your users. But can we do the same thing at the global scale? Can we measure the popularity of the books and we can select a subset from it? So here I can explain that application of REST API based JSON data here. So you all know that Goodreads.com. In Goodreads.com, many of the volunteer users are there. They rate different kind of books. They write different kind of reviews. Now that data set is available on the top of REST API based services. So you need to register yourself. You need to obtain a key that is called API key, and I can make a query of on the basis of ISBN. So for example, here I make a query on the top of 2 ISBN number. So suppose from these 2 books, I need to select one book from my library. So I directly make a call to Goodreads.com. This is called API URL. So this is the API URL. Then I have given my key. Then I have given ISBN number of the 2 books under study. And from that, I want to select one. So the moment I give this particular API call, now Goodreads gave me the data sets related to 2 ISBN numbers. The first one is this one, 059 onwards and 05965 onwards. So this is the second book and this is the first book. In the first book, it can give me ISBN 10, ISBN 13, and the average rating, number of people who actually given the ratings count, what is the total review count, how many reviews are available for this book from Goodreads, and now it can calculate the average rating. And you can see the average rating of the second book is slightly higher than the first book. So it can be measured or it can be taken as a good indicator from the global audience or the global readership. So most of the in particularly from Goodreads database, we can know the second book is slightly more popular from the point of view of global users. So we can easily utilize this average rating as a score to rank different kind of documents, and then we can go for selecting a particular book. So this is the basic concept of data wrangling. So data wrangling is cleaning, structuring, enriching raw data, and we can handle big data out of it. And I'm going to give you some practical demonstration on the top of OpenRefine. OpenRefine, as I said, originated from Google Refine. You can have OpenRefine from this particular GitHub, openrefine.org, and the total wiki is available here. Very helpful wiki. And one particular programming language or scripting language kind of thing you need to know, which is called Grail. Previously, it was called Google Refine Expression Language. Now it is called General Refine Expression Language. And by utilizing Grail, I can extract data sets. Say, for example, from here, I can show this average rating is this. So how can I extract average rating? How can I extract review count from this particular JSON formatted data? So Grail is basically utilized for that particular purpose. Now, you can see here as an example. So this is a particular journal-based UI. I make a call to Unpaywall to know the open access status. So Unpaywall gave me a data set, JSON formatted data set. From there, I need to know what is the OA status. Now you can see here, these are all kind of data elements available. And finally, it's basically Greek to all of us if we do not know Grail. Now, how can I extract the valuable information like open access status, is OA true or false, whether the journal is in DOAJ listed or no, and so on. Now, here you see, I have given a very simple GRAIL here, value parse JSON, because this is JSON formatted data. Then I am asking this one, is OA, so it will respond me. And within bracket, I am also trying to know what is the OA status. So OA status means the color of the OA, gold, green, bronze, and so on. Now this simple GRAIL, you can see in the last, next, slide. So this is the DOI. This is the object element. I wrote that particular GRAIL, and it can beautifully give me the crystal clear data from here. So suppose one column, new column I have created. On the top of is OA true, and if it is true, then what is the color of the OA? So it can immediately give me that it's true for this particular object, and this color available is bronze. So in this way we can extract information by the application of GRAIL. Now next important concept is data reconciliation, through which we can validate our different kind of name authority data, subject authority data, geographic name authority data with the available global services like Wikidata, VIA. Those are already available as linked open data sets. Then Library of Congress, then fast subject heading, faceted application of subject terminology, and so on. So data reconciliation is a semi-automated process, because at the end of the day, you need to take decision what to include and what to exclude, through which we can validate our different kind of authority data sets with the available linked open data. And here you can have an idea. Say for example, I have a mark data 100, main entity personal name, 700 added entity personal name. So all these names I can validate from Library of Congress, from fast reconciliation. For 651 data sets, geographic name authority, I can validate through Nominative for geodata, and different kind of other tools we can utilize alongside OpenDefine. So OpenDefine cannot do that, this entire reconciliation process. You need to have support from different kind of intermediary program through which OpenDefine can validate your data. And it's a beautiful services, because most of the cases Indian libraries have got their mark data in poor structure, so we call them poor mark. So that poor mark can be enriched with different kind of globally available linked open data services through data wrangling, and we can have rich mark. So it's a very easy to convert your poor mark data to rich mark data set by applying this kind of tools and technologies. So next one is NER, named entity extraction, where from the abstract or from the title we can extract a set of entities, either it's a name or it's a different kind of entity, organization or a concept like this, and that is very valuable for creating a vocabulary control services from raw textual data. And later on, the concept derived through named entity extraction, you can utilize data reconciliation to standardize the terms, and then you can have your own vocabulary control system related to a library data. So now let us start showing you that what we can do with this kind of data sets. I am now trying to minimize this slide and trying to jump to my this one. Say for example, what I'm trying to show you first is basically how can we obtain data free of cost, first of all. So I already told you, I talked about different kind of cross-ref data sets. So here you can see this I have, I will explain, but I do hope that you can see it. Say for example, I want to know how many of journal publications are there, journal articles from Kalyani with affiliation of the term Kalyani, that is query.affiliation is Kalyani, from this publication date 1st January 2020 to the 31st December 2020, the last year. Type is equal to journal article, and I want to know the DOI, title, and this one. So for example, if I make a query to this particular Crossref API, you see what happened. First, we need to obtain the data, and these are the free data sources available. You don't need to have the expensive Scopus data sets or Web of Science databases. As I explained, that these are the covering only the number of index journals there. It is not representing the entire bibliographic universe. So this particular, say for example, I need this, I'm copying this, I'm going to my browser. Now I am giving this particular query to Crossref. It's a kind of SPARQL, but simplified SPARQL, which can work on the top of REST API. Now, the moment I give this particular query to API, you see what happens. Crossref will respond to me immediately. May take a little bit of time because query is very specific in nature. So at the end of the day, at the end of this query cycle, Crossref can give me data in JSON formatted. I can take that JSON data. I can develop my CSV from that particular data, and then I can utilize that data sets to get different other kind of services. Now you see here, if I increase the screen slightly. So altogether, this query is a very specific one. For the last 1 year, I need to have all the articles produced with the affiliation Kalyani, either it is University of Kalyani or Kalyani University, or different other educational hub in the city of Kalyani. So that kind of query produced 189 journal paper available from Crossref, and I'm sure if you give this query to Scopus or Web of Database, Science Database, only 1/3 will be coming. So more comprehensive data sets we can retrieve. Now you see, if I go to this raw data, so this is the raw data, and this is the JSON formatted data. So all 100, as I given that query set, I can slightly modify this one, that rows is equal to, I know now there are that 189 data set is available. So now I can modify this query little bit. Say I want to have all 300s So what I have given, so there are 129 data sets. So let's make it 200. So I need rows is equal to 200. So all 200 rows in one place and start from offset 0. Now the moment I give this query, so all 189 data sets I can have in one go, because you can see here by default it can give you 20 data 0 to 19 in one go, but you can always set the number of rows you want to have depending on the number of documents you are having. Say if it can produce 5,000 records, so you can, at the best it can give 1,000 per rows per call. So in that way you can select your offset and you can obtain all 5,000 data from Crossref. So it's a very beautiful scope. You read through the Crossref API and you will be getting lot many structured approaches. So now you can see here all 189 data sets is presented here, 0 to 188. Now, if we go to the raw data, so this is the raw data, what to do with this particular data? I can make a copy. Now, the moment I copied this, I can utilize another utility. As I said, it's a data wrangling. You need to know different kind of data mapping from one particular format to another format. So before utilizing these particular data sets in my data wrangling, I need to have a CSV file. So there are utilities which can convert your JSON data into CSV converter. There are many actually. You don't have to install any data sets. You just click a service like this one. So this is basically controlin.io. It is available from GitHub and available also online. You don't have to install. You now just paste your JSON data here. Now, the moment you paste your JSON data here, you can see a simple magic occur. So it gives me, as I called only for DOI and the title, so it actually prepared a data table from me, and I can see all 189 data sets. So all these 189 data sets will be coming. I need only the DOI. Now I can download the entire CSV and I can copy it. Now suppose I want to copy this one as a as uh, say crossref drtc. So crf drtc.csv. Now my data set is ready without paying a single dollar or a single paisa to any of the publisher of the world. Now, the moment my CSV file is ready, I can call my OpenDefine. OpenDefine installation is very easy. It requires actually no attention. You just install Java either in your Windows machine or in your Linux machine, and then download OpenDefine. Start OpenDefine by calling the exe file or the bin file. Then it will be there will be no other consideration. So here you can see this is the OpenDefine I am running. So I just entered inside my directory and call the sh file and refine.in, refine.bat or refine.sh, and it can start. So in the moment it will be starting, you just need to minimize it. It's a very simple kind of thing. So I'm not giving any kind of attention on OpenDefine. Now installation of OpenDefine rather. So now I want to create a particular project. So if I can browse here and the data sets we have saved in the name of crf something crf drtc.csv. So that is the CSV file. If I click this one and click next button, the very next moment you can see the two things will be coming. So you first check that whether it's a CSV file, or you can also utilize tab formatted file or TSV. Then the moment you are ready with this, you can make a data file name so that you can understand very easily that crf drtc, and now click the project. The moment you click the project, it will be creating a project. Now say I can display all 50 rows here. I can rename the column. So some title /0 I don't like. I want to rename the column. So make it title only. So I obtained all these 189 data sets and finally able to open it in OpenDefine through different kind of data mapping from JSON to CSV. Now what to do with this particular data? So this particular data, this DOI, we can utilize for different other purposes. Say for example, I have some research question. How many of these particular journal articles are available in the open access channel? If available in the open access channel, what is the color of open access? Green, gold, bronze, or hybrid? And how many journals included in this particular data sets are available as open access? If available open access, how many of them are listed in DOAJ? So that different kind of data query I can make. How many citations this particular journal received? What is the ultimate score of that particular article? All I can do only within 15-20 minutes. So let me show you one particular thing. Say I want to obtain the open access data. So edit column, add column by fetching URL. So suppose I want to have data from Unpay1. Now let me explain that how can we do that. Say I am utilizing this one. Now if we increase the screen slide slightly, you can see here what I am doing. So I am just trying to give a REST API call to api.unpayworld.org, the version 2. So this is the API URL you can have from this Unpayworld. Then this will be immediately followed by the DOI number because it is based on the unique identifier. Then at the end of the query, I need to give my email ID. So this is the format for Unpayworld API, and that details you can obtain or you can have after studying that particular material. So I have written a particular string I have produced, the entire URL. Then the variable is the value is the DOI, and then my email ID. So you can see now, so against each of these DOI, it can now produce a string like this. So API URL followed by DOI followed by my email ID. So the moment I am happy that it is working okay, now I can click OK. Now all these 189 data sets, it will now fetch from OnePayWall the JSON data. Similarly, I don't have to stop there. I can also select different other services. Say, for example, I want to know how many citations a particular or journal article has got from Open Citation. So I can utilize this particular grid. So OpenCitations.net, again the string is this one. They are in their API version v1. Then I have given the DOI. So it can now produce, if I click the preview button here, it can now produce Open Citation. This is the string or the base URL, base API URL, followed by the DOI. Now the moment I am thinking that it is working fine, I can click OK. I have to give a data name, set name, say Open Citation OC, then I can give citation data. So here you can see one other pending process started. So in this way, I can also give different other queries. Say for example, I want to know how many of these data or article got attention from the social science domain, or no, not social science, social networking sites. So Altmetric, we all know, all article level metric. So I can also add another column. I can give alt data or some kind of name and can utilize another API here in the same way. But this, you see, this API will be slightly different, because if you want to have a massive scale of API call from Altmetrics data, you have to register yourself. They will give a key, and this is the format. So after this API, you need to follow your DOI. Then this DOI must be followed with the key they have given. So in this way, you can obtain your key. This key is available free of cost. You just have to give that particular data that for which purpose you need it. So the moment you give your purpose, within 10-12 hours, they give the API key free of cost. So if I now can, okay, so another process will be started and all will be completed. So you can see here, all these three processes will take time, and the entire workshop time will be over. So what I have done last night, I collected this particular data set, the same data sets for you. So this is, let it go on. So if I come to you that with a finished set of data, the same 189 data set you can see here, same UI, I can get the Altmetric data. I can get number of references against this object. I can get number of citations available against this particular object, the entire OnePayWall data, and so on. Now, if I want to show you that how many of this particular journal article of 189 journal article paper got Altmetric attention score, so I can definitely follow a very useful technique called facet organization, custom facet by blank. So this will give you that true is for 125 and false is for 65. So 64 out of this 189 journal article got the Altmetric data. Now you can see from this Altmetric data what we are getting free of cost and without collecting, giving any kind of effort, time, and energy. We can get data related to OA related data, is OA false, different kind of subject, field of study given by the publisher, number of time this is actually got the tweeted or got the Twitter count, how many blog postings are there, and at the end of the day you will be also getting the Altmetric score. So here you can see the entire Altmetric score, all Altmetric's attention score is actually prepared on the top of this data. So immediately I can get the Altmetric score. I can sort this particular data sets according to their number of citations, or alternatively by Altmetric score. So this is a very interesting thing. Another one, what I can show you is that similarly, if we come here I can see that how many number of references, how many number of citations this 64 document receipts, and I can always utilize my Grail to give you data. Say for example, second one has got 41 references, citation is 0. Third one got 45 5 references and citations received only 1. So in this way, I can make a real-time calculation of these data sets. Say for example, let me try to show you say how many of these particular journal papers are available in open access. So let me close this faceting. I can select this particular column. I can create add column based on this column. So now I am utilizing the Grail, what I have discussed there. So I am utilizing here OA status. Now you can see here this particular, I will be explaining that what do I mean by this one. Say here I want to have this kind of information. So I want to know value parse JSON. It will parse the JSON data. What is the status of journal is in DOAJ? Then it will be divided or separated by a semicolon. Then next one will be OS status, semicolon, and then the hash repository copy. So these three data I want to have under the column OAS. So if I click OK here, you see what happened. One particular OS column will be created. So here it is the false, closed, and false. So now I can make a faceting again, text facet. So now immediately of this 189 data set, it can tell me how many of these available in the bronze path, how many of these available, so bronze path with the repository copy true, how many it is available all closed access, so 137 is actually closed access, how many of these available in gold path, how many of these available in green path with repository copy, and hybrid and other things. So immediately I have shown you here with 189 documents, but in reality it can be 180 million records. So that is called the big data sets. And immediately you can make a query of this 189 records as well as 189 million records by using this kind of Grail. So immediately it can give you all kind of facets. It can sort this kind of thing and many other things. So this is one. Similarly, we can also extract through Grail number of citations and many other things. So that is one point. I'm not devoting much time there. Now I'm showing you that the same thing, the same way we can do the things with our books, and interestingly with the MARC data. Say, let me show you that one. For example, I have collected a number of ebooks MRC file. You can see here from Springer literaturebooks.mrc. Now suppose it includes around 300 books or 250 books. Of these 250 books, how many of these got good read attention, and what is the average count? I can immediately obtain that particular data, and I can take a decision that what 5-10 books I can select from these 250 sets of data. And remember, this is available in MARC data. So let me open my MARC edit first, and in my MARC edit, if I open my MARC editor, so this is a blank MARC editor. I can open the file literature MARC. So I am opening. So this is, so suppose this is the document literaturebooks.mrc obtained from Springer, or you can obtain it from any of the libraries also. So my point is that now through these data wrangling techniques, you can also deal with your MARC data and DC data. So now I am opening it. So MARC editor will open. So almost 250 data. There part page is 100, 3 pages are there. So around 300 book data is there. So now I can simply click this file button, then export for OpenRefine. So this MARC data I can export to OpenRefine format. So if I click OpenRefine, now it will be asking what will be your data name. Say, let me give the name books DRTC. And here my suggestion is that although you can select both JSON format and tab format, so when you are exporting data from Mark to OpenDefine, it is always better to utilize this TSP format, tab separated. Now the moment I select save, so it will, my export has completed. I have given name book DRTC. So I can now minimize this. I can quit. My mark edit job is over. And where it is available? It is available under this one, book DRTC.tsp. So I can open another copy of OpenDefine. Any number of instance you can run. Now create a project. Now I'm selecting DRTC books DRTC. So almost 1 MB size. Now click next. Here you see amazingly, so it can handle mark data. And what is the format? It can give you record number, it can give you tag here, indicator position, and the content. That is different kind of subfield data. And interestingly, each of the record is differentiated by a blank line. Very cleverly applied, data format. So this is the record, the end of the record one, supported by a blank line. Then record 2 started with the leader field. Now the moment I click OK, I am now ready with this one, create project. So it can again create a project for you. Now it includes around.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, my time is over.
Sorry for no, sir. I mean, it's just for remind you that you have only 5 minutes more.
Okay, I'm almost end of the presentation.
Thank you.
So you see here the entire rows available. Now suppose I want to know what are these books got Goodread attention. So what I will do, you know that unique ID is 020 ISBN number. So I can again go for the text faceting. Now I can select only ISBN number. So 246 number of books are there. So 020. Now you can see all these 020 field only displayed here with the ISBN number. Now I need this raw ISBN number. So how to extract that raw ISBN number? It's a Grail is a very powerful language. So suppose I am giving raw ISBN. Now the moment I click history, I have already tried this, so let me show you that okay, say this particular raw ISBN number, I can replace value dot this $A I want to replace value dot replace. It's a very simple actually if you understand the logic. Then what to replace? Subfield A I want to replace. Replace with what? A space. And here you see I can get rid of this subfield A. Then I want to also split the subfield 9. Then what to do? Dot split. What to split? $9. So it can create an array of two things. Now I want the first array because this is non-hyphenated ISBN number. So this one. So you can see here I can immediately obtain the raw ISBN by the application of Grail because this way I need ISBN number. Now moment I got this ISBN number, I can make a query to my Goodread. So this is the Goodread API. Do I have it? No. Let me obtain this. So from Goodread again, you need to register yourself and you need to have a kind of query. So this is the API URL. This is my key and that is the value. Now the moment I give this particular URL here. I can check the preview. So it is actually giving ISBN number. Then I can add the value. So it will now take the raw ISBN number and it can fetch data from Goodreads here data. Now the moment I click OK, it will start making negotiation with Goodreads and collect data sets. So let me again show you this particular document where I have finished. After finishing this, you will be getting, say here you can see of this particular document, the same data sets I dealt with. Now you can see that if I go by the customized facet by plan, only 5 documents of this 250 got the Goodreads score, and you can see here the average rating for each of these one. So each of these book average rating, anything more than 3 is considered good. So this 5 actually got average rating. I can extract just by utilizing Grail, and the topmost book got 5 average rating and followed by the other document. So in these ways, some of the things are going on, and the complex thing what we are trying, you can see here that this is the data sets we are trying to do just from a set of this data, bibliographic data, place names. We want to create a marked data sets, and that is actually one of the most challenging ones. So all the 745 districts of India we collected different kind of geospatial data, different kind of data reconciliation. You can see here with the Wikidata, with VIA, with FAST, with LC Recon, and finally we can get a mark column like this, and that mark can be immediately converted into a format like this. And from here, I can convert this open-defined data into marked data. I can create a authority data set from the scratch, and I can apply that in my library automation software. So that's all from my end. I have almost consumed most of